guys. So the topic is Dear Elon.
All right, hey everyone. Welcome to the last panel of the day. Thank you for sticking around, and we got a big one. Come on, round of applause. Amazing event. So many sponsors. Wow, the mining industry has definitely grown, and everything was going really, really well until a few months ago when Elon decided to suddenly announce that Tesla is no longer accepting Bitcoin for their cars with some really bad information, and it definitely affected our industry with one single tweet. So we're going to save our actual Dear Elon final statements for the end, but let's go real quick and start it off with, what do you think drove Elon to do that, to just all of a sudden have his environmental concerns? General thoughts as to the reasons.
Well, I don't know what drove him. I honestly don't have a habit to getting into other people's heads. Yes, sorry about that. But, you know, honestly, I do not see any problem with Elon or anybody else expressing his views. Now, the reaction to these views is a different story, but I doubt that this is a problem with the speaker itself. So, Elon said what he wanted to say. Doesn't matter what was the reason, whether it was market games and he wanted to make money in an unregulated industry, or he was really concerned with the Bitcoin impact on the environment. No matter how right or wrong he is there, we all know that it's not exactly the fact that he has stated. But he had the full right to express himself. Now, why we reacted, why the market reacted to that, it's a different story. I think it's we were in a bubble. The bubble just blew, which is fine. But I do not know what he was thinking. Thank you.
Well, yeah, that is the. What's that? Yeah, right. So just real quick, is Bruce Porter Jr., the CEO of Global Boost, founder at Washington Elite. It hit us all pretty hard, right? I mean, whether you're just hodling or you're trading, like when the market crashes, like what happened when Elon tweeted, I mean, it hurts. So I think personally that probably it was either the shareholders or what it was, somebody told them, look, we're not accepting Bitcoin, and that was kind of that. And that's what led to it. Who knows? Only probably Elon knows, and maybe a couple other people, why he did what he did. He's definitely a big time, pushes the market. We've seen it both in the stocks and in crypto. He pushes the market how he wants it to go. 54 or 58 million followers. It's fairly easy for him to do. We saw what he did with the Dogecoin. Really unbelievable what he was able to do. So that's what I think.
So most people don't realize it, but the only reason Tesla is profitable as a company is because Tesla sells over $400 million in energy credits a quarter. So when a company that makes its money by selling renewable energy credits, when their CEO comes out and it becomes a big proponent of something that the public views as a huge energy consumer and a carbonizer of the planet, and that CEO starts getting telephone calls from investors saying, we have an ESG mandate, and here you are promoting this thing, and it's wrong. He decided to not defend his position, but rather react. And you look at his comments today, and he's just as wishy-washy about his response today, even though he's been presented with the data that he said, if it's over 50%, we'll start taking Bitcoin again. Data was presented to him, and he said, I'll consider it.
I'm going to jump a little bit off what Fred said. I think people misunderstand what Tesla's business is. It's about selling environmental credits and it's about selling batteries. And those are the two things that he does. It doesn't matter if it's in a Powerwall or if it's in a car, it's about batteries and environmental credits. And what Bitcoin does is a complete threat to the Tesla business model. What we do as Bitcoin miners is monetize excess energy, which could not otherwise be used. The only other way that you can capture that value is with battery technology. Battery technology is incredibly destructive for the environment. It's incredibly expensive to build out and deploy, and is a complete waste of money. But it does not stop governments from spending on this technology. It is the only way that you solve the intermittent power problem provided by wind and solar. The only other way is Bitcoin mining, and Bitcoin mining does it in a much more capitally effective way, and also does it in a way that's less destructive for the environment, because we do not do lithium mining, cobalt mining, and using child slavery in Africa to produce these batteries. And it also does it in a way that's very, very high return on investment for everybody, while providing, as Michael Saylor says, digital property rights for 8 billion people. So it is a threat to his core business, and of course he's going to fight against that, but Bitcoin does not care, and it will crush him under its boot.
Very nice.
Damn.
Good luck following that.
All right, so I think we already hit the nail on the head with the carbon credits, and that's where I was going to go. But you know what I thought about too? Financial gain, right? We don't know what he's doing. It's unregulated. You don't know. For all we know, Tesla sold. We'll find out next week when they do their quarterly reports. So, it's really only up to him. But if he's going to bash on something being not green, just for a little fun fact, each SpaceX rocket launch is 200 to 300 metric tons of carbon dioxide. You want to talk about something bad for the environment? But yeah, you guys killed it, so I'm just gonna.
I think the rest of the panelists have pretty much covered all the bases as well. I think my personal beef is just, I think when you're a high-profile person like Musk or like Mark Cuban, you got to be a little bit more responsible when you say things and how you say them. Let's be honest, you affect industries and you affect lifestyles, you affect people's business. So I think that's my biggest problem. I think you got to be a little bit more responsible with the way that you present your opinions on certain sectors. I also believe that there is more behind this. Don't be surprised in the near future we see, the Tesla coin or some other, cryptocurrency opportunity created by Elon himself.
Well, I'm the last panelist here, so kicking up the rear, I pretty much agree with what Fred and everybody else said. It's kind of clear, and also just speaking more responsibly, and just because you're a billionaire doesn't mean you can't be held accountable for being a human being. And I think we should hold him accountable, despite some of the realistic pressures, as Fred pointed out.
All right, we're gonna hold on to the mic because you're gonna kick off the next one. It was great. We just went through an entire panel and no one mentioned the Doge incentive. Interesting. All right. I thought somebody was going to mention it. So that was the past. Let's talk about the present. So Elon has already been presented with the data, as was mentioned during the answers, and he's not really acknowledging it. I just watched his talk earlier today that he did alongside Jack Dorsey. And I've never really heard Elon speak about Bitcoin, and I didn't even get a chance to tweet about this. But it was like, I was like, here's my takeaway. Elon's understanding of Bitcoin is twofold. One, I should hold it, and two, I need to hold my private keys. And that seems to be where his knowledge ends on that topic. So how does our community go about educating him that, no, Elon, the block is not really going to change the size, and we're not going to go to proof of stake. Like, there is a thing called consensus, and Bitcoin is decentralized. How do you go about educating someone like that who seems to think that he knows so much about it when he really doesn't?
I think it's like any grassroots movement change. It's having one-on-one conversations and continuing to stress the messages that you want to convey. Having people that are close to him, that have his ear, having conversations with them as well. But it's not easy, but it takes, those are a couple things I would do.
let's be honest. I think to sit down and educate Elon on this topic is not going to get anywhere. I think, and if I were to bet, he's very highly educated in crypto, and to think that any of us are going to change his mind or educate him to a certain extent is not realistic.
So what do? Boycott sales of Teslas?
So, right, I think about it this way, right? We got to take like a row up here of experts, right? If Elon was in front of us, we can probably talk for hours about the most basic things and get to such a high level that half the people here don't even understand. But the thing is, if he doesn't want to learn, if he doesn't want to, be an expert and just come off as one, it doesn't really get you anywhere. So, yeah.
I also got a chance to watch a little bit of his talk earlier today. I didn't get to watch the full thing, but I saw a couple of highlights. He talked about Bitcoin's value being an information network, and this is fundamentally flawed understanding of what Bitcoin is and what it represents. This is about economics. It's not about transferring information at the highest speeds possible. So Bitcoin is the hardest monetary asset that humanity has ever created. It's not the fastest. It's not supposed to be the fastest. It's supposed to be the most secure and the hardest monetary asset on the planet. So when he starts talking about fast block times, this is reminiscent of when Charlie Lee creates Litecoin 8 years ago or whenever that is. This is very, very old, outdated logic and thinking about Bitcoin. He's almost a decade behind in the curve. As we look around, central banks printing, as we saw COVID response, massive amounts of printing all around the world, it's only highlighted Bitcoin's economic value and utility. This is the point. There is no other point. And so if he wants to understand it, the number one thing he can do is just read the Bitcoin Standard, and maybe we should all send him a copy.
I'm pretty sure he's gotten a couple hundred copies to date. I'll take a contrarian perspective. I don't think it really matters what he says. He's eventually going to be viewed as just being ludicrous. And this whole thing with Doge that he said, he's borderline, the SEC just would love to put him in a trap right now, because what he does is moves markets, and he's manipulating markets, and he's doing it in unregulated markets. I think at this point, whatever he says about Bitcoin, whatever he says about Dogecoin, whatever he says about Ethereum, whatever he says about anything, people take with less and less and less validity each time.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Fred 100%. That was going to be my point. First of all, he probably knows and understands a lot more than he's putting on. But it doesn't really matter. You can see the more and more that he tweets and says this and that, it has less and less an effect, which is better for all of us in the long run. And having him involved in crypto and having him involved in Bitcoin and everything else, by and large, has been very good for us, for all of us. And so, whether he learns, he doesn't learn, I think he is what he is, and we take him for that.
Yes, I agree. I think the problem is not with what Elon says or to educate him. No one can educate him except for him. And I agree that he knows much more about Bitcoin than he pretends to. He's not a stupid guy exactly. The problem is with us, how we react to his tweets. Why do we run and buy Doge just because Elon Musk said something about it? Why do we rush and sell Bitcoin because he stopped accepting it as a payment for freaking Tesla? It's a freaking car that he does not accept payments for. Why do we dump Bitcoin because of that shit? It doesn't work this way. So we need to educate people, general public, who do not know Bitcoin, and that's much more important than educating a billionaire who, just says something that, he sees fit at the moment.
All right, so let's do something a little different. I'm looking at the clock. We have exactly 30 minutes, but we're a little bit behind, so we'll see if we can finish early. So, you don't have to admit it, but feel free to raise your hand. How many of you have tried speed dating? Come on, don't be shy. I see, Doug, put both hands up. You clearly. So, imagine you are on a speed date with Elon Musk, and you have exactly 2 minutes to educate him on Bitcoin. Glance at the clock. The moment you start, you have exactly 2 minutes. You ready to go first? Or you want to go last? I'll go last. You go last. All right, we're going to start in that corner. Actually, you can go in any order. Just whichever panelist is ready with their 2-minute speed date with Elon Musk, go.
Daddy Elon, I thought you were married. So we'll start off. What was the question? Sorry, that just sidetracked me.
You are on a 2-minute speed date with Elon Musk, not for dating purposes. So you have but in the same concept, you are at a table across from him. You got exactly 2 minutes to educate him about Bitcoin. Go.
You know, there's some people whose whole livelihood is Bitcoin. You know, for example, I graduated high school in 2012. You know, I was that nerdy kid in Bitcoin. Robotics team, you know, I could tell you about the 16-cent bubble, the $5 bubble, the $30 bubble. Yes, I sold on all of them. I probably wouldn't be here otherwise. You know, some of these tweets that you put out, some of these things that you portray may or may not be accurate, but it has a huge effect. You know, it's Daddy Elon with the laser I-beams. You know, he has a following. You know, he took Dogecoin, which, I mean, it's a shitcoin, and turned this shitcoin into 75 cents, and the whole market, I mean, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everyone's talking about it. I can tell you a lot of people here probably didn't jump in on the hype and lose money, but the people who did lose money were like the random kid you see or the person in the store talking about, hey, did you hear about Dogecoin? And they buy in, and then they get dumped on. And then you know what? It puts a bad taste of crypto. It affects everyone here. When that happens and the price tanks, I guarantee you everyone here was living their best life, $60,000 Bitcoin, things are going well, projections are going well, you know, some bad PR and the price tanks and everything else follows. It trickles throughout, you know, the whole industry. You know, it's not just the miners, it's the hosting facilities, it's the guys making power supplies, the chain goes on. And, you know, just actions have repercussions, and it's, you know, some people's livelihoods. So please be careful.
All right, Ben, come on, you got this. Elon is sitting right across from you. You talk for 2 minutes straight. He's paying attention. What do you say?
Elon, you've spent your entire life trying to disrupt incumbent industries. You started with PayPal, taking on the financial system that was bloated, inefficient, and corrupt, and you tried to create a new system. You demonstrated value by providing people with a service that they desperately needed. You took on the car industry, which is bloated, inefficient, and corrupt again. And you provided value by creating an awesome car that's incredibly fast and fun to drive. You took on NASA, which is very, very bloated, corrupt, and inefficient use of tax dollars, and created SpaceX, you know, a much more cost-effective private space company. You are now taking on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not the incumbent industry. The financial industry is still the incumbent industry. Bitcoin is the disruption that you are fighting. It goes against everything that you have done in your life and everything that has made you successful to date. If you want to continue down this track, by all means, go ahead. But you will be crushed under Bitcoin's boot. Once, twice, 3 times over, it will not stop. It does not care that you think you're funny. It does not care what you've already done with other industries. It does not care that you have 54 million followers. All it cares about is changing the world in the same way that you always said that you wanted to do. So you either get on board or become irrelevant and a complete joke. And maybe that's your point. Maybe that's why you are supporting Dogecoin and trying to improve the protocols and trying to make them faster. Sure, I would love to send my joke coins faster too, but it does not change anybody's life. Bitcoin does. Bitcoin changes the energy, Bitcoin changes the poverty, Bitcoin changes the rights of people all around the world. This is the solution that we're all looking for. And if you can get on board with this, you can start making an even better name for yourself than you ever did with PayPal, Tesla, or SpaceX.
Oh. Awesome. Come on, Fred. I know you got this.
Wow, that's tough to follow. I'd take a different tact, but maybe it's just because I'm the old guy here. I would literally repeat what I've said to him now, I think 3 times.
Well, talk right to him.
Elon, just help us fix the problem if you think it's a problem. If you don't think it's a problem, just forget about it. If you want to collaborate, you've got renewable energy, you have battery technology, you have everything that could make this problem be solved. Join us. He's obviously chosen a different position.
Just keep that one. Go ahead. No. Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, so
Talking straight to Elon.
you know, Elon, there are, and yeah, hopefully, right? He's possibly watching on his stream, or maybe he'll get it or hear. I'm sure.
We know you're watching, Elon.
Right? I'm sure it's been reverberated by people all over the world. But you know, from where you come from, I understand that you know, now you're kind of in the ivory tower. Maybe it has been a nice ride from there, but what we have here is a monetary revolution, and it's a peaceful revolution. And it's been going on for over a decade now, and it took at least 5 years for the governments of the world to even figure out what was going on. There hasn't been a shot fired. There hasn't been a lot of the things that normally go on with the revolution, but it has been a revolution, and it's our revolution. And when you use your podium, your mic, your account, and it affects the price of an asset like it does, please understand that it's not me, and it's not you, and it's not Fred or Tone or any of these guys who are all fine, okay? But there's thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who lost a ton of money. And oh yeah, okay, don't margin trade, or oh this, or oh that. But Elon, they're trying to make it. They're trying to make it. And you know, in our government now, in our US society, and really it's all over the Western world, and really the whole world, it is very hard to own something. It's very hard to actually own it. You know, they can freeze your bank account. They can freeze this. They can take your house. They can do all these things. And here we have something that came along in our generation that we grabbed onto, and you can actually own it. And you can hold it. And even if you memorize your secret keys, they can put a gun to your head, and you don't have to give them the keys. You don't have to give it to them. And there's never been a time in the world, in the history of the world, where that has happened. And so I just want you to please sit back and understand that there are many of us in the revolution, and I would even say we're in the same revolution, brother. But there's many of us in the revolution that these types of things will hurt, and just consider it. Just consider it before you go on your big mic and do your stuff.
Hey, Elon, how you doing? I'm Mike. Are you high now? No? Okay. So listen, one thing I want to say to you. You are a very powerful person. There is no question about it. You made yourself very important figure. Please be careful with your words. Your words matter. People get rich of them, people get poor of them. Just imagine what will happen when Doge, for example, will finally crash. When Shiba coin will be destroyed. And we all know it's only a question of time. There is nothing behind this. It's a bubble. So a lot of people will lose a lot of money just because you promote it and you spoke the words using your authority and got into their heads. So be careful. People fates actually real people fates depend on what you're saying. Just be more responsible. And don't be so tense. Maybe you need to get high now.
Nice. You guys want to go? You don't have to.
Elon, in this panel, in this room, you have visionaries, just like yourself. You have people that have sacrificed their lives, that have sacrificed their family, that have sacrificed their income to do and accomplish the things that we are doing today, the same way you did. You've overcome a million obstacles the same way we are. Like Fred says, I think that the best thing you could do is mentor us, sit down with us, teach us, educate us, so we could do what we need to do, you know, based on someone that has gone through the same challenge that we are today.
Elon, you're a very smart guy, so I know that you know what you say manipulates markets. It's nothing new. It's been happening since the dawn of financial systems were created, even well before Bitcoin. So you can either join us or not, but we're going to continue educating the rest of the world so that they don't react necessarily in the way that they've always reacted before. And that's it. Join us because Bitcoin is an unstoppable force, and you're on the ride with us or you're not. But we're moving forward with or without you.
Awesome. I got some time to spare. Should I go? No, it's all right. I'll leave it for the panel. So let's do a quick fire answer, right? So we'll start from the end. This will be like a yes or a no, just out of curiosity, and just pass the mic right down. Do you own a Tesla?
No.
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 Hell no.
Nope.
I've sworn him off. I'll never buy a Tesla.
No? Nope. No, no one here owns a Tesla. Okay, so let's do one more. Do you think Elon personally owns over 5,000 Bitcoin as the second richest person?
No.
No.
Probably not.
I know he owns a shitload of Dodge, but I don't think he
That's
owns
the next
5,000
question.
Yeah, you can draw the borderline between whether Tesla and SpaceX's holdings are his personal holdings or not. But SpaceX holds almost as much Bitcoin, if not more, than Tesla does.
Right, no, personal.
Personal, most probably has 10,000 sitting around.
So you're going to go over. Bruce?
Does he have 5,000? I think he's got 5,000 Bitcoins, guys. I think we're fooling ourselves if we don't think he does. If he didn't buy him back, I think probably he sold him and he's buying him back. The guy plays the market. I mean, there's only one reason to manipulate the market like that, and that's if you're playing it. So.
Well, I think we can universally agree that he's a smart guy, and any smart guy owns Bitcoin, so it's very simple. Yeah, I think he's a whale.
All right, so speaking of whales, rumor has it that a single Doge whale has almost 1/3 of all the Doge. Do you think that whale is Elon?
I don't think so, because he's a smart guy.
So I'm sure probably a lot of you in this room read all the articles, and there's all this tied to his birth date and this and that and the other. Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Do I think he's stupid enough to put all that Doge in one single wallet address? Yes, I do.
Let's be honest, he knew it was coming, so there's your answer.
I think his closest friends do.
It's a fun game.
I said he was a smart guy. Yeah, no, I don't think he does.
Okay, so it's not him. All right. So that was fun. We still have a couple of minutes. We are overall, I know the conference is, everyone's getting ready to go to those after parties. So just give your closing thoughts, and also, since we do have a few minutes to spare, tell the audience, what company you represent, and what do you do, and what do you see the future of the Bitcoin industry?
Yeah, so I'm a marketer by trade, 20 plus years doing tech marketing, about 5 years in the blockchain space. Apifiny is a digital asset trading and mining network. Actually was talking with Tone about this earlier. We solve the problem of global trading fragmentation, where traders don't have access to the best prices and liquidity because crypto's fragmented. It's like if Apple were listed on 300 different exchanges. That's really the state of the global trading market today in crypto. There is no single unified global trading market. Despite Bitcoin being a global asset, it's traded like only regionally, like a local asset. So that's a little bit about Apifiny. What was the other question, Tone? Oh, just final thoughts?
Where do you see the Bitcoin ecosystem going?
Wow. Putting on my Nostradamus hat. I think it's an unstoppable force. I mean, I'm along for the ride. There's no single government or institution that's going to stop Bitcoin from continuing to grow. I don't ever think it's going to zero. I don't know how exactly it's going to play out in terms of if it's the currency that, or the mechanism that really starts to more tightly integrate with traditional financial infrastructure. But I think it will happen.
I think we're going through a massive growth spurt right now. You could use infrastructure as a good gauge. What we're seeing currently is unprecedented. And I think that as the financial sectors continue tapping and continue growing the sector, I think that the growth is going to be exponential in the next upcoming years.
And what are you doing to help that growth? What do you do?
Build infrastructure. Build the infrastructure, which is the backbone of the blockchain. And as long as we, continue with innovation and building reliable and efficient infrastructure, it's going to support the blockchain.
All right, that's the question. Where's the space going, and how are you helping it get there? Next, pass it on, Mike.
Hi. All right. So, so I work for ASIC.to. It's part of the Vanish firmware group. So what we do is
Closer.
like this. Yeah. Okay. So what we do is we take your Bitcoin machines, we hack them, we put our own firmware on there. We've been around since like mid 2018, and basically what we do is we run a machine learning algorithm that optimizes each individual chip on a hash board to maximize the amount of profit or efficiency out of a given, hash board. This is trying not to get too technical. So basically what we do is we try to take existing hardware and make it better, make it more efficient, because there's going to become a time, Moore's Law, we're at 7 nanometers, the future's 5, 2, 3 nanometers. Eventually we're going to hit a roadblock, and then optimizations aren't going to be so much on the chip level, but it's going to be in the software level. What can you do to make these chips the absolute best possible chip for the given circumstance? So, I'm working more, with the miners, not so much infrastructure like some of you guys, but, it's all together. I'm excited for where Bitcoin's coming in the future. It's an unstoppable force, like everyone's saying, but at the mining level, it's pretty cool. Like some of the advancements we have, and we have miners now buying power plants. I think we had this conversation before where we saw, like 2 years ago, we had a conversation that we thought that the future was going to literally be people mining next to power plants or with power plants in conjunction, because you know what? It just makes perfect sense. Like power producers, securing the blockchain, and it's wonderful.
I'm Ben Gangnon. I'm the Chief Mining Officer of BitFarms, a publicly traded Bitcoin mining company with about 1.5% of the network and 78 megawatts of green hydropower in North America. We've been operating for about 4 years in Quebec, Canada primarily, and now we're expanding internationally around the globe. Personally, I've been in Bitcoin since 2010, actually got invested in 2013. Been mining in it since 2015. I've mined in 3 countries and 2 languages. This space is incredible, and we are building the infrastructure of the future. What Bitcoin is going to do, financially, I think everybody is really clear about that in terms of the value. Bitcoin mining is solving a real-world problem that the industry has never been able to even fathom a solution to, and that's the excess energy problem. So as Bitcoin miners are going to be searching for more and more cost-effective sources of power, you should expect that Bitcoin mining starts being integrated directly into electrical infrastructure all around the world. This will happen at multiple different levels. This will happen at the actual production level. This will happen at distribution levels, substations. This will happen at smaller company levels who are off-taking excess power in their various purchase agreements, or have purchase agreements that have power requirements beyond what they can actually use at this certain time. And by doing so, we're going to be solving this excess waste energy problem that no other technology can solve. Batteries cannot scale to solve the global waste energy problem. Only Bitcoin mining can do that. And we're going to do that. So as a company, what we're doing is making mining accessible to everybody. Mining has an economy of scale, which is the inverse of traditional economies of scale. It makes a lot of sense at the very small end of things, where you have 1 or 2 miners and you're taking advantage of excess power, or your existing infrastructure, or improperly priced power. It also makes sense at the large end of things, where you have incredibly efficient cost of capital, incredibly efficient scale. It doesn't make sense in the middle. So as a publicly traded miner, we're decentralizing that exposure to Bitcoin mining through public shares, and enabling people to invest in mining without going through the hassle of finding the power, finding the miners, getting everything set up, keeping it running, making sure it's optimized. We do all of that for you and enable you to invest in all of this infrastructure of the future.
All right, awesome.
I'm Fred Thiel, CEO of Marathon Digital Holdings. We're a large-scale enterprise miner, publicly traded on the NASDAQ. Symbol is MARA. Currently deployed about 2 exahash, and are deploying a further 7 exahash, 8 exahash between now and the end of February of next year. So figure that's somewhere between 6 and 7% of the global network.
Where do you see the space going? Not just from a mining perspective, but obviously you're mining Bitcoin for a reason. So where do you see the ecosystem moving?
Sure. So I think Bitcoin is going through the typical technology adoption curve, right? You get this initial hype cycle, everybody's pumped about it, but there are no real good commercial applications developed yet. People get disillusioned and forget about it. And then you start seeing major credit card companies supporting Bitcoin transactions. You start seeing cash back on credit cards, 1.5% to 2% being paid in Bitcoin. You start seeing bank accounts being enabled by FIS and NYDIG to support Bitcoin wallets and Bitcoin holding and transactions. You start seeing ETFs providing investment exposure to it. Bitcoin is slowly but surely growing in its penetration of the financial markets, and it's going very mainstream. And we're going to start to see that happen further and further and further. What's really exciting me about Bitcoin and where it's going and what its potential is its ability to lift people out of poverty who otherwise haven't had that opportunity. What's happening in El Salvador by taking 23% of the GDP, which is foreign remittances, and just removing the fee structure from it, what that does to that country and enabling the unbanked to be banked. It's really helping people at the bottom tiers of society move upwards. It's also providing an ability to dramatically increase in the speed at which transactions are done. It's affecting every aspect of society, and having lived through the internet early years, 1995, and being very involved in the datacoms that built the original internet, we're in 1994, 1995 right now with Bitcoin. Where this is going to go over the next 10 years, most of us can't even envision it.
Awesome. Bruce?
Yeah, I would echo some of that. It's Bruce Porter Jr. I'm the founder of, I'm the CEO of Global Boost, founder of Washington Elite. Global Boost is an old 2014 blockchain. Washington Elite is a series of events we do worldwide. We basically have turned into a global consulting agency. We help different blockchains all over the world. I speak all over the world. I was just in Monte Carlo at a sustainability conference with Sir Anthony Ritosa as a family office event, and also speaking at the CC Forum. I do not, and everybody's mining, and we're publicly traded, and we're all these things. I kind of like to take it back to the whole revolution, and I've been in for a long time. And I was at a park gathering or a club gathering the other day, and my neighbor comes up to me, who I convinced to buy Bitcoin at $600. And he'd had a couple of drinks, and he says, Bruce, and he puts his arm around me, he says, Bruce, we made it, man, we made it. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, it's not over yet though, man. And he says, yeah, I know, but this is the American dream. We did it, we made it. And it kind of, gave me a moment to step back and look at the wider picture, because of course I'm in it all the time. But we did change the world. We changed everything, really. I mean, to send now, you make a deal and the money comes instantly or it doesn't come, right? They either send you the crypto or they don't. And there's no BS, I'm going to wire you this, I'm going to do that, or anything else. And that's just one of the ways. The other way I touched on earlier, being able to actually own something. You know, and some of the newer blockchains aren't like that, but the older ones are, you know. So that's something that is very special. And we did it without firing a shot. And we did all these types of things, which I mentioned before. The future is very bright, guys. You know, the next 10 years, I think, is going to make the last 10 years look like nothing. And I know, people say, well, Bruce, you're a perma-bull. All right, yeah, I am. But hell, man, we did it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And what you said about the financial system, I just got a message today from my bank overseas that the money I wired to it over 10 days ago has finally arrived. That was great. From myself to myself. Yeah, Bitcoin isn't going anywhere, guys.
Hey, Michael Savuskan here, the CEO of Alpha Miner. We manufacture PSUs and GPU chassis. And at this show, we're showing the PSU for the alternative PSU for S17, T17 Antminers, APW9 replacements with 4,000 watts, and the new HPC chassis for GPU. In my opinion, of course, Bitcoin is not going anywhere, and I agree completely with my colleagues here that the next 10 years will be a much more interesting ride. I'm a little bit not concerned, it's a wrong word, but I'm seeing that we also in mining, we are doing a lot of consolidation where miners like Marathon and BitFarms and Hive and Genesis and all the core, all the large guys are consolidating and essentially making the retail home mining irrelevant, unless, of course, you have a very nice electrical rate in your house. And that kind of takes us away from Bitcoin for everybody concept. But other than that, it is for everybody. Maybe not as a mean of payment, but it's definitely as a mean of value. And I can only see that a lot of people will get into that in the next few years. Institutions will get it, will be adapted more and more by financial systems. It will become a norm rather than something that, oh, what is that, a novelty. And I'm happy that I'm in this industry. I'm happy that we all are. And we're going to be doing very, very well in the next few years. Thank you much.
Awesome. That was great. Let's have a round of applause for our panel. And thank you so much to the conference for inviting me over to moderate this panel, and to everyone else for coming and visiting. One more round of applause for our gracious MC, Erica, goes by Bank of Erica, who's been doing an amazing job all day. All right.